Hey everybody, my name is Justin Smith. I'm currently at Redeemer Church in Lubbock, Texas, but I'm planting a church in Austin in 2023. And I want to just talk a little bit about unity. If you've read the New Testament, you know that unity is important. You know that people outside the church, one of the biggest objections that they have to Christianity is kind of divisions and schisms in the church and stuff like that. As I look around the country at college towns and churches trying to reach college students and parachurch ministries trying to reach college students, that this really is probably the missing ingredient in many contexts to one ministry or a few ministries thriving and the church in your town thriving and reaching the college campus in the fullest way, in the way that I think God wants it to be reached. And so I want to talk about first what unity is not. What I do not mean by unity is agreeability. I think that's probably what we have most of the time in our contexts is we say that we are on the same team and we know that church over there is doing things that we support and it's great, but it's their thing and then we're going to do our thing and then hopefully it all just kind of works out to where the mission that God wants accomplished in that city is accomplished or on that campus is accomplished. I'd call that agreeability. I wouldn't call that unity. So like we use the language of same team a lot. Like that church over there is on the same team, but we've never played a game together. We've never played a down together, if you want to use a football metaphor. I don't mean not being enemies. I mean actually having unity in working together in friendship and in love and in common mission. And so I want to talk about three ways that we can cultivate this unity. And my prayer is that as some people begin to apply this and begin to try to cultivate this unity in their context among the churches and parachurch ministries around their campus, that it would actually spark revival around college campuses around the state, around the country. And so here, let me give you three things for, I think, first steps on how to cultivate this unity. The first one is friendship. Most of us, with the other college pastors, other ministers in our context, we probably have some sort of relationship with them, especially if you're in a smaller town, smaller context. We probably know them. We probably see them around like the same coffee shops that everyone's discipling their people at or whatever it is. But we don't actually know them. We don't actually have a relationship with them. We haven't hung out with their families. We haven't been to their homes. We haven't sat down and eaten a meal together. We haven't prayed together. And so if you want to see, I think, if you want to see revival happen on your campus, it's going to start with the ministry leaders in your context actually becoming friends. And I don't mean you don't have to become best friends or, it just, you need to see each other as brothers and sisters in Christ and as not just co-workers or somebody in the same kind of career path, but as teammates, as fellow soldiers in the trenches, as friends who have each other's back and have that mutual trust that the other person is out for our good, the other ministry is out for our good. Great way to cultivate friendship, eating together, praying together, going to one another's homes. And so if you're like, how do I start? Where do I go? Then I would say invite some of the ministry leaders in your context to your house and have a meal with them and just ask them about their lives. Don't ask them about their ministries. Ask them about their families. Ask them about their kids. Ask them about where they come from, their stories, how the Lord brought them into Himself, those kinds of things. So that's friendship. I think that's definitely your first move. If this is something that doesn't exist at all, friendship is your first step. And I think the second one is what I would call intentional collaboration. Like I said earlier, I think most ministries, the relationship is we do our thing and they do their thing and we hope it all works out. But I think what you'll notice is that you'll end up with several ministries, several churches reaching the same group of people, reaching the same corner of campus, doing very similar things, even on similar nights, same time, that kind of a thing. And we end up actually competing for a small group of people on a much larger campus, where if you just sat down in the room and you began to think about who's good at what thing, what are the things that God has gifted us with, what are the things that God has resources this ministry with or this ministry, and then what are the needs on our campus and how can we collaborate, how can we work together to meet those needs and to see the mission fully realized in our context where God has called us, then you'll actually see that revival. You'll see that campus reach to the fullest potential I think God has for it. And so intentional collaboration, getting in a room, getting a whiteboard, getting a map of campus, and really thinking about not just how your ministry can do what it's supposed to do, but how the church in your city can work together to see what God, I think, has for your city actually come to be a reality. So we've talked about friendship and how I think that's the first step, and intentional collaboration, how I think this is probably your second step. And then the third thing is maybe less of a step, but a general attitude and something that just has to be present in all of this. Now, if we're honest, there is likely a sense of competition among churches and ministries around the campus that you are on. This is not a good thing, but it is a normal thing. And so we don't want that. That's sin. That is wrong. And I think it's something that Satan uses to hinder the mission of the church. But it's a reality that exists. And so we've got to really think about how do we fight against that, and how do we cultivate this culture of unity among the ministries in our city? And I think it requires humility. And I think what that really looks like, practically speaking, among college ministries around the campus, is college ministries knowing their role. I mentioned that some churches are going to be good at some things, other churches are going to be good at other things. Some of them are going to have lots of resources, lots of money, lots of staff. Some are going to have one staff member and a very low budget. All of these ministries can contribute something to the mission that other ministries cannot. And so in that room, when you're intentionally collaborating, everyone's going to have to understand they have a role to play. They have a responsibility. There are no excuses for sitting this one out, but also that each person has a unique role to play that only they can play. And the big churches are going to be able to do things that big churches can do and small churches can't. But small churches are going to be able to do some things that big churches can't. And when you start to see this, I've seen this happen, where you start to see the churches, big and small, and all different denominations, different beliefs and stuff, different traditions, when they start to kind of put aside their preferences and put aside this sense of competition, and they understand the role that God has given them in this context, that you will see a difference. You'll see a few ministries go from thriving to the church. It won't be just a few churches growing, but it'll be the church in your context, in your city, growing. And you'll see more and more people come to Jesus, and we'll be able to see a movement start from your campus that will impact the entire world.